Welcome, one and all, to Outpost Zimonja. Sorry for the banging in the background. Apparently, my kids are taking a bath and banging on the tub. But this is Outpost Zimonja, a fallout for efficiency settlement build. I am your neighborhood-friendly Oxhorn. And this one was a frustrating one, but ultimately rewarding. Outposts... My kids are going to be banging through this entire video. Outpost Zimonja is one of the first settlements that you come across in the game. You get it by clearing out the raiders who are currently occupying this outpost. And then you can build on top of it. Now, it's actually a fairly small outpost, and it's got an awkward layout, but you can make it look pretty nice after some tweaking. Now, my goal with this settlement is it is an outpost. So it doesn't have all of the niceties of some of my other settlements. No TVs, very little entertainment, not a whole lot of cooking stations, and it is fairly cramped. Now, I'm still crowding the same number of settlers in it. I have 33 settlers in this settlement right now, and I made room for 36. But let's start with defenses. So let's go on up and load our settlement management software. And let's mark all of the attack spawn points in this settlement so that you can see what to expect. So let's go to attack spawn point number 1. Way over in this corner, outside the bounds of the settlement, right here on this tiny little hilltop, is one of the spawn points. And so I set up this very small station with just 3 turrets. And then way back here,
the way I see it, the Commonwealth is at past.
Is another spawn point outside the bounds of the settlement, but not by much. This is actually a little trail that goes up to this dilapidated shack down back there, and I don't know what that shack is for. Every now and then I'll go in there and loot the stuff that respawns in there, but there's a little road that goes down here into Outpost Zimonja, and this is one of the spawn locations. So I blocked the road with this daisy-chained bridge construction here, with all the missile turrets that I need. The final spawn location is really confusing. So
Yes?
you would think that enemies would spawn down here. And in fact, based on personal experience, I recall enemies actually running up this road to enter Outpost Zimonja and to attack it. But according to this, the spawn point... Here, I'm going to turn on my editor so that X688 stops talking to me. It's like every 2 seconds he says something. Anyway, so there's this little bridge, an elevated platform with a ladder by it that comes with the outpost. And on top of it is one of the spawn points. But what's most weird about this is that if you scrap the shack bridge, it disappears. If you move the shack bridge, it moves with it. Now, I haven't tested in the game whether by scrapping this shack bridge an entire spawn location for enemies disappears. I haven't actually tested that, but this marker does disappear. And I also haven't tested that if by moving this shack bridge, you move the spawn point for enemies. That would actually be really handy, because then you could move this all the way down this road. Maybe not using the in-game builder, but using console commands. And maybe that would allow you to kind of push out the boundaries of your build a little bit. But as it is, I don't really know what to expect, so I kind of left this the way it was. This little lean-to situation right here came with the settlement, and if you scrap this shack bridge, then this little lean-to bit disappears. And I kind of liked it, so I wanted to leave it. But one thing that's really annoying is that if you do scrap the bridge, this ladder doesn't disappear. It hovers, and you can't select it, you can't scrap it, you can't do anything with it. So you've basically, if you scrap this, you've got this leaning ladder right in the middle of your settlement, which just gets in the way of everything you want to do. leaving you to resort to console commands like mark for delete to get rid of it, which, again, I haven't tried. So I got around this by just leaving this installation here. I placed some turrets there, and I'm hoping that if enemies ever spawn, they spawn down there and not where the mod says that they spawn. If they do, well, then they're in my settlement. So, as you can see, it's a really small area, and I didn't have a lot of room to place an elevated farm. There's not a lot of flat land, and so I didn't have space to place a bunch of farming plots, and I also didn't want just crops littered all over the ground. So what I did is I planted carrots outside the perimeter. I've got a garden here with carrots for these guys to farm, and then round back here I've got a few carrots up there, and then underneath this platform I have some more carrots. So that's the farm location. The carrots wrap around this brick structure. Not the most elegant, and but you know what? They're kind of hidden. They blend in with the settlement. It works. It's providing food, and so that was my solution to get around that. I created an elevated marketplace over here. I didn't want to use this whole landscape because I need some space to defend, and you know, it's just so uneven. So I just made this small marketplace, and it has quite a number of shops all the way around the perimeter. And I positioned them in such a way, well, not only do I have electricity running throughout the entire marketplace with these lamp posts that came with Wasteland Workshop, which illuminates it really well, but I positioned them in such a way so that you can walk around on the inside without clipping and getting stuck on stuff. Oftentimes when it comes time to decorate my marketplaces, I'll put down a bunch of tables and chairs, and then you can't move, and the settlers can't move, and it gets really annoying. So I spent some time arranging the shops and the chairs and adding more platforms. I even extended the platform by one small platform. This is about half of a regular wooden platform. I extended the width of it just so that I could push those shops back and add another ladder so that there was more breathing room around here for the settlers to be able to walk around. And it works. The settlers do come in here and they'll sit in my chairs, and they'll go to the shops, and they'll sit down at the tables, and so it works. I don't have a bunch of stuck characters. So that's what I did for my marketplace. Now, here's my water purifiers. There was just no elegant place to place them. I already took up a lot of room around the perimeter of this brick square with a few water pumps and my farm, and you know, they just didn't fit anywhere else. So way over here against this rock outcrop, I placed my water pumps, and I have them wired to this pylon, which then goes out through the rest of the facility. Down here is my workshop area, and I have it decorated with... These are actually scavenging stations. I introduced these in the last video I did, Green Top Nursery. And each of these is I used a mod to generate these scavenging stations. They function like scavenging stations. You can assign a settler to them like scavenging stations, and they produce scrap like scavenging stations. But they look like other things. Here's a Protectron robot. That's a scavenging station. You can assign a settler to it, and the settler will work on it. Here are some pipes that, as you can see, I assigned a settler to it, and the settler's looking around confused or whatever. And so this was just a fun way to add some diversity to the animations that the settlers have inside your settlement, and to just make the place look more active, more alive, and a lot more fun. Aside from that, none of this is actually functional in any way. This chest doesn't open up or anything. It's just a scavenging station. This fence right here, or this shelf, looks really nice, but it's just a scavenging station. However, I found that due to this low overhang of this platform right here, most of my settlers wouldn't go and use any of these resources. My settler wouldn't walk over here and use the tool chest. My settler wouldn't walk over here and use the Protectron. My settler wouldn't walk over here and use the shelf, so I ended up unassigning them and leaving them there for decoration. The only one my settlers actually could walk in here and use, because of crazy Bethesda pathing, is this pipes. So that's the only one that they're still assigned to. I decided to use the little space I had in this settlement for decorations to decorate this area right here. It comes with this concrete platform here, And I wanted to turn this into a little loungy area, so I extended the platform with these little wooden slats right there to turn this into a coffee drinking / smoking / listening to the radio lounge area. I've got a campfire here and 2 settlers hanging out, warming themselves by the campfire. These settlers are assigned to invisible mats. You can see the outline when I hover over them. And this is a mod that I'm using to generate special animations. You can see this settler is assigned to that mat, and that's a radio listen mat, which she'll do. I hope she does it, but if she doesn't, what she does is she sits down on the ground and like bops her head to the beat of listening to the radio. And these animation mats are warming yourself by a fire. So I put down a fire, I put a cook thing right on top of the fire, and then I put these 2 settlers down there with animations that to warm themselves by the fire. Now these animation mats don't produce resources. They don't do anything to benefit your settlement. They're just there for decoration. So I don't think the game treats these guys as unassigned like they should. So they're technically assigned to a resource that doesn't do anything. But I still felt like it was worth it. Okay, so let's go to to NPC housing. And what I had to do is I had to build another shack. So the settlement came with this shack right here, and this door didn't used to be there. There was just a chicken wire fence that came over here, much like this one right here. I liked the look of it, so I left that one. And I wanted to keep this one, but I wanted to also enclose this so that it acted like an actual hut. So you go inside. I put a rug down here. Oh, I should assign a settler to that. You are unassigned. You are now assigned to this rug. So this rug is actually a scavenging station. And you can assign a settler to it. The settler will go in there, and then we'll start doing a unique animation, which is kind of fun. Anyway, so I didn't decorate it a whole lot. I stuffed all my sleeping bags in there so that they all have a place to stay. I hung some lights, and I put down that rug there. See, that's her unique animation. She just does inventory. Maybe she's counting sleeping bags or something. Then, so this came with the settlement, and all I did to change it is I replaced this door. And then this came with the settlement, which is this brick square platform, and then all of this came. These 2 beds came. This shack came. And all I did to decorate it was I put this terminal down and I wired it through the slats of the house. And then around the corner here, I just turned this elevated platform area into just a little bit of a lounge. They've got a radio to listen to, and then a couple of couches. So unlike my other settlements, I didn't do a lot of decorating here. There's just not a lot of room. But what I did need to do is I needed to create more housing, more places for my settlers to sleep. Since these were the only 2 structures that came with it. So I built this structure, and it was really hard fitting it in. And the way it works is the characters come on up here. They have to navigate around this, and then the first floor is just all sleeping. And then floor 2 is also all sleeping. And that's it. It's fairly simple, straightforward. I haven't decorated the inside yet with posters or anything. I may do that later, or I may not. I chose that sort of cloth roof up there to just make it look more shacky, more outpost-like. And the problem with having a really compact housing structure like this is that NPCs don't like it. They don't. Half of them won't walk up this stairway, and then once they get up there, half of them get stuck here. They just don't have the brains to go around the ladder. Now, some of them do. Some of them will go around the ladder, and they'll sleep in their beds. And a very rare few of them will actually go up to the 2nd floor and sleep up here. So the pathing issues with NPCs in Bethesda games is just really obnoxious, sadly. But it works, and so I get all of the bed numbers that I need. Now, for the tricky bit. Those are my engines up there. So I placed 1 wind turbine, 1 windmill right there. And then I've got 2 windmills right there. And I felt like adding any more windmills would have made it look ugly, so I didn't add any more. But it needed more power to power all of my lights and all of my turrets. So what I ended up doing is I built these double-decker shacks on top of the windmills. Now I figured that would work because it's actually fairly sturdy up here. As you can see, the windmill is encased in this iron cage, which I'm hoping is going to be strong enough to support those two shacks up there. So I built those two shacks on top of these iron cages, one on top of another, and then inside I put about 15 units of electricity per shack, and then I wired them to this radio tower, to a little conduit here and a conduit there, and then I wired them down. Anyway, that's how they got their wiring. Now, I did at one point experiment with placing some of the new wall lights that came with Wasteland Workshop on here. I thought that would have been a nice way to illuminate it at night and to spot enemies. But there's just a problem with lights in the game right now. Here, I'll show it off, because it's the same problem with these missile turrets as well. Any lights in the game, when you place them, or when you place a spotlight, it looks fine, but then if you fast travel and fast travel back, look, the light isn't even on. You have to select it and then cancel for the light to turn on. Notice how the light is now on, and it is casting moving light. And it bummed me out to have so many lights attached to this radio tower, and none of them worked, so I just removed them. My only defense now being what's on these elevated platforms. Only have one Brahmin at the moment, have the Brahmin way back here, sort of out of the way. The only danger with this is that Brahmin tend to be fairly susceptible to raider attacks, so I'm hoping that my defenses will kill super mutants and raiders before they can come down here and kill my Brahmin. The nice thing about the Brahmin is they do tend to run away when settlements get attacked. So hopefully, hopefully I placed him in a position that that'll keep him safe. And there you go. Short, simple, fairly sweet. Just a really tiny area of land to work with, right underneath this overpath, which has gunners and raiders on it and everything. I had to build up in order to get all of my engines to work, but I managed to get 36 beds, 36 food, 36 water. Oh, I'm missing one bed. I only have 35 beds. Crap. Well, looks like I get to spend some time figuring out how I'm going to squeeze one more bed in here. Oh, well. Anyway, I've got all the numbers I need, and this settlement's going to grow, and it's going to produce me caps, and it's going to produce me scrap, and we're good to go. So, that was my take on Outpost Zimonja. Thank you so much for watching.